Hello, and welcome back to the Just Follow Joy podcast. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Ariana, and I'm a human design guide and teacher. And I'm always excited to have you here with me. But today I'm especially excited because we are taking a peek into something brand new from Just Follow Joy, something I've been working on for months, and I'm so stoked to finally get out to everybody, the Just Follow Joy membership. So this is a monthly membership with all kinds of content on human design, from beginner stuff to more advanced stuff, also gene keys, some astrology, a ton of stuff about manifestation. And I've just been having the best time creating it, and the best time hearing from people what they've really liked from inside the membership already. We already have some people inside and they've been really enjoying what they've been diving into. And in particular, they like this one piece of content, which is about the Jupiter lines. So this is about the lines of your Jupiter gate, your conscious Jupiter gate, I should say, in your human design chart, which is also known as your money or abundance gate in human design, and is also known as your pearl sphere in Gene Keys. So I actually have an article all about understanding your Jupiter gates. I don't know if I have a podcast episode about it. If I do, I'll link that below as well. But I'll link the article below so you can know what I'm talking about. You don't need to read that to understand today's podcast episode. You can just dive into this. But I think it would probably help to give you some context. In either way, so we're going to talk all about the line of your Jupiter gate, what it means for your relationship to money, and how you're here to create prosperity and how you can use it. So really exciting stuff. This is also one of my favorite pieces of content in the membership. So yeah, we're going to dive into that. I'm really excited. And of course, if you do want to check out the membership, if you want to see everything that's included, if you have any questions, you can find that all at the link below. So that's it from me. Remember, if you like the Just Follow Joy podcast, if you love the Just Follow Joy podcast, if you could like and subscribe if you're on YouTube, or leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts if you haven't already, this would be so helpful to help get this channel and this podcast and Just Follow Joy in front of other people who will like it, love it, and learn from it as well. So that's it for me blabbing about this. Let's go hear me blab about Jupiter lines. Hello, and welcome back to another voice note. Today we're talking about the line of your personality Jupiter placement in your human design chart. And before we dive in, if you hear any weird background noises, I am in the office with my mom's puppy. So if you hear any whimpers or anything hitting something else, it's probably whapping the wall with his little squeaky toy thing. But anyway, so I actually have a blog article all about the Jupiter placements in your human design chart. So I highly recommend checking that out first. You don't have to for this episode to make sense, but I will include that below for easy access so you can figure out what your Jupiter placements are, in particular your personality Jupiter, because that's really what we're talking about today. So your personality Jupiter placement, which is also called your pearl sphere in Gene Keys. You have the actual gate or gene key, whichever way you want to look at it. And then you also have the line that it's on, right? Because like every gate placement we have in our human design chart, every gene key we have in our hologenetic profile is on a line 1 through 6. And that line will always just give us more information about the way that this energetic theme is going to be played out in our life. So when it comes to our personality Jupiter, our pearl sphere, that means that this tells us more about how we will draw in abundance in our life, whether that is money or something else that you want in abundance. So there are a couple of ways to do this. You can look up the specific meaning of the line expression for your gate that you have in your personality Jupiter. So say you have like 64.2, you can go look that up on evolutionaryhumandesign.com. That's Chetan Parker's site. You can, I think for each of them, he might be missing a couple, but you can find descriptions for what those little phrases mean. So for example, I actually don't know the one for 64.2, but whatever that is, there will be like a phrase in the human design textbook or online that you can see, and then he explains that. But I really like to use the Gene Keys lines here because I just think they're really, really applicable no matter what the gene key or gate you have is. And usually they just make a lot more sense. At least they make more sense to me. So that's what works for me. But you can do what you want. Today we will be talking about how to do this from the Gene Keys perspective. So we'll talk about each of the 6 lines here. And another thing that I want to let you know is that this isn't just how you will relate to money and how you will invite more of it into your life, like giving it that more specific flavor. It's also kind of what you're actually looking for from money or this material support or abundance. And you will see that as we talk about each one. So the theme of the first line is simplicity, which means that if you have your personality Jupiter placement on line 1, the greatest way that you will invite abundance into your life, especially in this aligned and good feeling way, is going to be through embracing simplicity in your life, especially around money, materialism, ways of attracting abundance, whatever, because the main thing that the 1 line is interested in is in creation. Creation is what makes it feel very connected to life. So basically any form of like money or material stuff or support from other people, the universe, however you want to look at it, all of this for the 1 line is supposed to just help it create more or like feel like it's doing what it loves. So at the end of the day, the 1 line doesn't really like actually care about money that much. It's just about how money can make room for it to do more of what it loves. And so when it comes to money itself, it's about simplicity, and it's about embracing that in any way that makes sense to you in your life and feels good. And Richard Rudd actually says that the worst thing that these people can have in their lives is clutter. So if you have this line, simplicity is key. And this doesn't mean you have to live like an ascetic. It doesn't mean that you can't have a lot of money or be very wealthy in this lifetime or even have quite a few things. But the point is that they can't make you feel cluttered. That's the most important thing. So if you have this line, ask yourself, how can I live from the most simple place? Because this will make room for you to focus on what really matters for the 1 line and what will make you feel really alive and also help you attract all the money and abundance you need. It's by making space for doing that thing that you really love. The theme of the 2nd line is recognition, which makes a lot of sense for the 2nd line because these are the people who naturally attract attention when they're doing something that they love, when they just wrap themselves up in what they're passionate about, they can't help it. People see their natural talent. And so with this line, the recognition though is not the same as necessarily like attention or widespread attention. So it's not like I need to be seen by a bunch of people in order to make money and for prosperity to flow into my life. No, it's much more about, do you have people around you who recognize you and recognize what you're good at? And do you also have people around you who you recognize for what they're good at? Because what's interesting about the 2 line is that it will draw people towards them who want to invest in them because of what they're naturally talented at, but also it is good at recognizing what other people are naturally talented at, and then it likes to invest in them. So that's another theme here. So the 2 line really loves to receive through that feeling of recognition of them being recognized, but they also love to give through that sense of recognizing others. So it's the overall theme here, both with giving and receiving. And you can look at the gift of the placement here to see what you are supposed to be recognized for, but he actually recommends that you look at the city. That's really what's going to make you feel the most recognition. And actually, my dad had his personality Jupiter on line 2. He had gate 7.2. So gate 7 is basically the gate that determines like which way to go for the entire group or for the collective so that everybody benefits. And it's also, interestingly enough, also good at seeing like who should in the group should be doing what in order to move the entire group forward. It really is here to use its power to make the world a better place and to take us forward into a better future. So the gift here is guidance, which makes sense. And then the city is virtue, because again, this is about making the world a better place, making the world a more virtuous place where we align with true morality and what's really good for us as a person. Remember, gate 7 is in the G center. So it's all about direction and also like staying true to yourself and being authentic. It also has to do with like love, like universal love, the power of love. And so that's really what my dad was here to be recognized for. He was here to be recognized as a leader, basically, someone who could guide others in the correct direction and help other people find direction for themselves that was really going to benefit them. And he didn't always do this in a way that was not controlling, but he did his best. And when he worked in the corporate world, where he worked for a very, very long time, my dad was not recognized for the leader that he was. He wasn't really given the free reign that he needed, especially as a manifesting generator who's like, fuck the rules. I'm just going to do this the way that I want to do it. And when he asked, hey, I've done a lot for this company. I've saved us tens of millions of dollars every year. Can I get a VP position? And they said no. My dad was like, okay, bye. And he went and found a career that really, really lit him up, that he was very naturally good at. My father was good at many things, but this was what he really, really loved, had that like two-line passion, that natural ability within this new career. And his income exploded. He had more freedom than ever. He was really loving what he did. And he was also treated as the leader, which is what he always needed to do. Like, he wasn't this wildly influential person in terms of like being known by a lot of people. He actually really did not like being seen. Like, whenever I would take a picture of me, he's like, don't put that on social media. I'm like, don't worry, I won't. But he needed to be seen and recognized for his ability to pull people down a path that he thought was pulling us towards a better future. And he wanted to be the leader who was doing that. And he was naturally very good at it, but he wasn't in a place where he was recognized for that first. So that's, I think, a really great example of that two-line recognition really working in the prosperity sequence. My dad also really, really loved feeling like he was the person who could recognize when another person was a good investment as well. And it's funny because he wouldn't realize that like if someone was on the radio, they've already kind of made it anyway, but he would listen to an artist and be like, this person's going to be really big. This person is going to be a great artist. And he loved to see passion and talent in other people. That was always one of his biggest joys in life, was watching other people be really passionate about things, especially when they were just like really, really freaking good at it. But even in personal relationship, and when, you know, he was talking about his tenants, like people who rented from him or people who he worked with, or even, you know, the rest of us and his family, his kids, he would look at us as investments. And not because, I mean, an investment's actually not really a great word for this, because that means that you expect to get something back. But he just wanted to see this thing grow. He wanted to recognize it and see it succeed. And so with other people, he loved when he could see what they were good at and then in some way give to them so that they could nurture that. Then we have the 3-line. And the 3-lines theme is celebration. So Richard Rudd literally says this in the book, Prosperity, A Guide to Your Pearl Sequence. He says, the 3-line likes to party. We like to have a good time. And if you can't tell by me saying we, I have my personality Jupiter on line 3. So with this whole theme of celebration, that means a couple of things. First, it means that you will invite more abundance into your life by focusing on what you can celebrate right now and feeling that celebratory vibe in general. So doing what makes you feel like you can celebrate life, which just means having fun with what you're doing instead of focusing so much on what the outcome of what you're doing will be, which is so very 3-line, right? Because it's all about experimentation, and then also about surrendering to the process and just knowing like, I am doing this to experience it and feel it, and we'll find out how that turns out, right? And actually, he doesn't say this when he's talking about the Pearl Sphere in Gene Keys, Richard Rudd. But I'll tell you that something else about the 3-line from Human Design is it really does not thrive when there's a lot of pressure put on it. So for the 3-line to really do well and end up prosperous, it needs to feel like there isn't so much pressure of like, how will this turn out? And instead, they can just focus on like, I'm having a lot of fun with this right now. I get to celebrate the process. That's so awesome. So there's that. And then secondly, when the 3-line does have money, or honestly, like the goal of the 3-line having money, much like for the 1-line, it's all about helping them get back to their creativity and feel very connected to what they're creating. For the 3-line, it's being able to celebrate. So it's being able to party. It's being able to have fun. It's being able to have a really jovial time with your friends and family and the people you like. And so it's really common and it's normal for people with this on a 3-line to spend their money and their abundance on things that just make life really fun and make them feel even more like they can celebrate life. So in my chart, I have this with gate 5. So in human design, gate 5 is all about personal rhythms and timing and doing something at the time that feels correct for you so that you can get into like your own personal rhythm and routine. And that's going to be really healthy for you. And it's also going to guarantee that you're doing the right things at the right time for yourself, even if it doesn't look like what your mind thinks you quote unquote should be doing. And then in Gene Keys, understandably, it makes a lot of sense that the gift here is the gift of patience. The shadow is impatience, and then the city is timelessness. So I like to focus on the gift here. And this means that by embracing, like by being patient and knowing that the right thing will happen at the right time for you, you're never in the wrong place. If you're doing what feels right, you're not doing the wrong thing. And to everything, there is a season. That is how you will open up your aura to abundance. And if we put this together with the third line, that means celebrating where you are right now and thinking, of where I am right now, if I knew that this was not wrong, how could I celebrate this? How could I feel more celebratory and feel more like life is fun and just like enjoy where I am right now? So my lesson, and I'll tell you, this has helped me a lot in terms of abundance, whether it's coming through my business or just coming to me from random places in life. But my lesson has been to slow down, be patient, know everything happens in its own time for the best. And so it's totally okay if I want to just enjoy where I am right now. That's all right. I don't have to change this. It's not going to make things better. It's probably not going to make things happen any faster. In fact, the irony of this is like by being patient and by slowing down, things could very well speed up for you because you're not forcing yourself to do certain things your mind thinks you should be doing, which actually aren't going to be the things that help you manifest, right? But it's just like, that's one of the places that the mind can trip us up. Anyway, then we have the 4 line, and the 4 lines theme is charity. So that does mean that these people like to give, but a point that he makes that I think is really important is that this is not necessarily about like giving resources or giving money to other people. Even it's not about charity in that way all the time, because at the bottom of charity is actually service. So people who have this gate on the 4th line, they really, really get a lot from helping other people. And of course, this comes from helping the people who are right for you to help. So you look at your strategy and authority to tell you who that would be for you. It doesn't have to be everyone, but they will notice that abundance for them and what they receive comes a lot from them digging into that feeling of like, wow, I really made an impact in that person's life, and I really helped them by spending time with them, by solving a problem for them, by maybe giving them money and donating to them. Or maybe it is the kind of help that you offer through what you do for work or in your business. So actually a really great example of this is our friend Tara Brunette, 1-3 projector. So she's already someone who's built to focus on the other as a projector and how her skills and gifts can help guide other people. But she also has her Jupiter on the 4th line. And it's so funny because she was giving me an exercise once to do to activate, my money manifestation power, I guess you could say. And she said, it's so much more powerful to manifest from a place of, instead of being like, okay, I want a lot of money, how can this serve me, to coming from the heart and thinking of all the different people that you're going to serve with what you do. And now knowing that she has her Jupiter, her personality Jupiter on line 4, I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. And then on the other hand, my mom really loves to give through like charity and what she can just do for people outside of her career and actual work. And it's so fulfilling for these people who have this gate on the 4th line. And if you don't feel like that's fulfilling for you, then you need to ask yourself how it can be, because you might just be doing the wrong things that don't light you up, or you could be giving to people who you are not supposed to be giving to because they're not the right ones to receive it. And only you can decide who that is. And again, listening to your strategy and authority is going to be so helpful here. And I'll also tell you that if you're like, well, what am I supposed to give them? Or like, what is the thing that I offer? Look at the placement. So Tara's personality Jupiter is in gate 20, which means that she really offers the most to people when she just shares the truth of the moment, when she speaks very authentically from herself, because she also has gate 20 in the full 1020 channel, which means that she's a voice for spreading self-love. So when Tara speaks from her own authentic truth, or speaks about her self-love journey, or really does anything that's from her true self and her G center, that defined personality, then she spreads that self-love and transmutes the environment of lack of self-love into love for other people. So she spreads that through her voice and what she does, and she's also an example of other people for how they can do that. So that is what she gives. She, on its own, gate 20 or gene key 20 has the gift of, I don't know if it's the gift of the city, of presence, of just like being here right now with the truth of the moment. So you can just kind of look at that. That's really like the one gift that she gives mainly here through her Jupiter gate. But yeah, so whatever it is for you, that's the thing that you're going to be giving. Like that's your form of charity or service. The theme of the fifth line here is responsibility. And if that sounds a little bit heavy, yeah, it kind of is. I mean, having a fifth line anywhere in your chart is where there is going to be a little bit more responsibility and where you have to step up, but also where when you do step up, you activate so much power. The 5 line is very powerful. And it's just like in Spider-Man, you know, this most overquoted part of the movie, which is with great power comes great responsibility. And that's so true for the 5 line. So I don't want to scare you here with this, but what I'm trying to say is that the 5 line has such an ability to transform the world. And when you own that responsibility in whatever it is you do, and again, look to the gate to see what it is that you're here to own and step up as an authority and a powerful person with. When you do that, that is how you will open yourself to great abundance. Probably not just for yourself, but for other people, because a lot of people will rely on the 5 line in some way or another, whether it's to provide for them or to solve a problem for them, and then you get paid for that or you get rewarded in some way. Also, it's going to feel good. It's going to feel good to fulfill that responsibility. That's always the case with a 5 line. Like when it's the correct thing for you to be doing, it feels so fulfilling. It feels like what you were supposed to be doing, so it makes you happy. Now, similar to the 4 line in this situation, you will probably attract people who need you. And again, it always comes back to the 5th line with drawing boundaries and knowing who to actually help and who not to help, like who you can do that for. That's the biggest thing. It's not necessarily about like over giving here. It's about like who can you actually help? Because then otherwise people will be like, you misled me, or this is now worse, or something like that. When maybe it's not your fault, but it wasn't the place for you to be owning that responsibility. So understanding that theme of the 5 line here can be really helpful as well. Also in the book, Richard Rudd does say that any of the lines have the capacity for great wealth, but if you're going to look at one line that has a real potential for it, it's the 5 line. So with great responsibility can come great wealth as well. And finally, we have the 6th line, and the theme here is nature. I've always found the 6th line so fascinating in whatever part of the human design chart we're talking about. I find the 6th environment type, the 6th motivation, etc., all so interesting because it's, to me, a combination of 2 very different things, which is groundedness and wisdom that comes from moving through the material physical world and understanding how that works, but then also this childlike optimism that never dies and also gets enhanced the wiser they become because they realize that all of this is a fucking joke. Especially like money. Like if there's anyone who's going to realize that money is fake, it's a 6 line, because it's not that they don't take the 6 line carries a lot of responsibility on its shoulders, a lot like the 5 line, because it's the role model. It's here to show other people what it's like to live your authentic truth. But there's also a part of it where the 6 line has this wisdom that transcends the material world and says, we don't have to take all of this so seriously because it's just not this whole thing right here. It's not the whole thing. And so we can walk into life or walk through life with both wisdom and the innocence of a child. So the wisdom of an elder and the innocence of a child. And so these people understand that at the end of the day, all we actually have is nature. And nature is going to run through its own cycles. So we are just here for the ride. And that means that if you have your Jupiter placement here on the 6th line, a lot of what you bring and a lot of how you can open yourself up to abundance is by, I don't want to, not like laughing at life, but not taking all of this so seriously, like seeing the bigger picture here and knowing that money, one, is like this thing that we made up. Even though we have to kind of use it to survive in this material plane, this is not the only thing. So we can take a lighter touch with this stuff. And I really like to connect this back to the 6th motivation, which is innocence. And they actually say that the 6th motivation isn't a motivation at all, because these people don't go into something being like, I'm doing it for this X, Y, and Z. They don't really go into it for a result. They go into it almost like a higher octave of the 3 line, or a wiser version of the 3 line, saying like, okay, this is kind of the way that's meant to be. Like, the way it goes is the way it's meant to go. Why don't we just go in here for the experience and just be a part of it? I mean, there's a reason why the 6th line is called the Buddha. It's like everything is perfect. And when we can see that everything is perfect, it gets even more perfect. So with the 6th line here, what I will tell you is that by keeping that bigger picture and not taking all of this so seriously, again, not laughing at it, not saying this isn't real, so I'm just gonna like fuck off and I can just do whatever I want, or steal money, or not make any money, or whatever, like just completely disregard the physical world. Instead of that, you can simply keep that big picture in mind, and you don't have to take each of these small things so seriously. And when you can do that, you can see the prosperity and the abundance flow into your life. And also this whole thing with nature, remember that the 6th line, again, is here to model for others what it looks like to live your design and live your authentic truth, like who you really are moving and living through life, just because that's what life is, with no motivation to do that, just because this is who you really are. And then see how life can work for you because of that. So when it comes to how you're approaching money, your relationship to this is all about like what feels natural, what feels good and natural just because it does. And when you can do that, that is really, really powerful for the 6th line. And then you're also going to show other people how to do that as well. Anywho, that's it from me. I hope you have a great rest of your day. You rock, and I'll talk to you next time.